Hi everyone and welcome back. I wanted to come onto YouTube today and film a video about something that I had been feeling intuitively about this general time in Cancer season of 2024, though I believe that it will be resonating for quite a while. So regardless of what time you're watching this from, I wanted to make a video about the theme of cutting ties, cutting back overgrowth. I got a lot of intuitive hits today about this feeling after we came through those Uranus-Jupiter conjunctions in Taurus. I got a lot of intuitive hits that now we might be dealing with an overgrowth, or we might be dealing with certain things in our lives that we can't decide, is this like something that we keep? Is it something that we give away? Is it something that we focus on now or move past? As one of the main collective themes that I was feeling at a motivational level, like something that the collective was really wanting since about May of 2024, was to put certain things behind itself, to be done with certain things, making certain things history, moving on from something. I was feeling this almost like pleading energy, which for some people was becoming like a bit of desperation, like I just want to be done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to have this long-running cycle continue in my life. As it's very possible that the cyclic elements of our lives became overgrown and really productive during the entire time of Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. So Cancer season of 2024 is going to very gently remind us of the elements in our lives that are kind of like questionably overgrown, or things which we might want to re-envision or choose perhaps even to move on or step away from completely. Cancer season of 2024 is setting up the proper emotional feelings to transition us through a time of liminal space. I just made a video about liminal states and transition states, which I will link below. So what is coming up also in this transitional time, very Six of Swords period of time, very yin period of time in Cancer this year, as we're going to have grand water trines. Of course, Uranus still in Taurus. We're going to get again into one of those phases where it's like there's a major abundance and majority of yin feminine energy, which we had at multiple increments during the 2023 year cycle as well. I know for certain, like Scorpio season of 2023 had a major yin abundance. There were, I believe, Pisces season of 2024, and then Taurus season of 2024 also did. Now here we are in another yin feminine sign of Cancer, where we will have a huge majority again. So there's kind of like a difficulty, as we've had ever since the beginning of 2023, we've had an overabundance of yin. And I think that I need to address this in this video as well, because it's definitely a supporting message as we're dealing with like what happens when the yin element or the yin modality becomes dominant for a very long time. You get overgrowth, right? Because yin is the energy that it takes to create new life. Yin is a supportive energy. It is obviously the natural feminine, so it is a gestalt energy. It's creative. It brings new things into the world, and it dreams and creates visions about like what could be created in the future, and it holds that power within itself. So of course, whenever you have an overabundance of either yin or yang, it comes with some negatives. So some negatives of an overabundance of yin means having like too many things that are growing, not being able to keep up with it, having things overgrow. For those of you who garden or work with the earth element, as the earth element is also a yin element, you would know that a major part of growth and gardening is pruning and cutting things back, which is something that yin really understands well. However, I feel that in these last few year cycles, it's been so hard for people because there's a lot of scarcity consciousness, there's a lot of poverty consciousness, and people are kind of really hesitant to cut things away because the feeling of having abundance or the feeling of having overgrowth could be kind of associated with being abundant. And maybe it's not. You know, if you have an overabundance of like thorns or weeds or something, it's taking up space, it's there, you have something, but does it really benefit you? Is it something that nourishes you? Is it something that is safe? And also, when things overgrow, it becomes more and more difficult to cut them back in the future. You have more of a cost, you have more of a question of like, what's it growing over, and like, what is it harboring? So I feel that to be happening starting in Cancer season. And Gemini season was odd this year. Gemini season was just kind of like outside of the energetic momentum. So we had a little bit of space between like May 21st and June 21st of 2024 to just kind of like zone out, honestly, and think about, what do I want to do? What more fun experiences do I want to have? But now Cancer season of 2024 is going to put us straight back into the long-term momentums that we've been on for a long time. And it's going to take us to the next question about the yin overabundance that all of us are experiencing. Okay, so if you're listening to this video right now, I can probably tell you that there's something in your life that may be overgrown. There's something that may be taking too much from you because of how much it is, how much it takes, essentially considering all the resources it would take to keep up, a huge garden or a huge field that just grows and grows and grows. It would require quite a maintenance regime. It would require planning. It would require a lot. And of course, there could be benefits that come from it as well. But here is a point in time where we have to very lovingly do a cost-benefit analysis of our lives. And we have to offset this time with a bit of fire and air energy. I'm seeing the Queen of Swords, the King of Swords. I'm seeing these types of archetypes being very important here because that is the cutting energy. And I'm also seeing the middle path, balance. We have the South Node in Libra, so we can't go too crazy with like cutting and pruning and removing things either, but we can't just let things overgrow. So we're in a place, I feel, right now where the main difficulty is understanding what has overgrown and what its future trajectory is at this rate, and also what the trajectory would be if it were like cut back. So this is all representing the challenge that one has when they are ascending to a state of authority over their own lives. As I feel that even though this is a difficult time, 2024, everyone I feel has some type of new level of freedom, some type of new level of authority. And with that comes also the liability of error making or, not planning properly, not assessing the trajectories right. So these are the areas where we need to focus in our lives, you all, is like the ability to assess trajectories, the ability to understand cause and effect, the ability to also take balanced middle of the way paths and not go like into total, separation from that which is growing in your life and just not even thinking about it, just letting it like go out of control, but also not going into scorched earth mode and just like removing everything either. We are balancing out polarities, and I think that South Node in Libra, North Node in Aries are honestly one of the most challenging nodal transits for the collective, because I think it's just something that humans struggle with is balance. There's always some type of extreme or polarity that really fuels people who are polarized or who are extreme powerfully. So, one of the positives of being a very extreme or polarized person is you get like a lot of internal motivation and fuel. You get like that North Star feeling, and you get this sort of like march toward utopia, like go wild type of energy. But it, on the negative side, also kind of begins to become easy to be destructive. Okay, it's much easier to spend all that money maybe than it is to earn it all. It's a lot easier to light a match on something than it is to maybe grow, a 1,000-acre garden or something. So this is a time, you all, where we have to start respecting life, okay? And we have to begin respecting our own lives in order to do this. So how I'm trying to string all of this together is I feel that there's a collective, what would I call it? Almost like a collective neurosis about the destructive archetypes, meaning like, I just want to be done with this. I just want to go into scorched earth mode. I just want to maybe destroy things that I've built before just to experience that feeling of power or control. And that could feel that way for a split second, but then what is left for you? I've kind of been talking around this a little bit in some of the recent videos about how people have kind of a illusory attraction to the idea of endings and terminating or destroying long-running structures. This is because we have Neptune at the anaretic degree of Pisces. We have Pluto moving back towards the anaretic degree of Capricorn. So having a planet like Neptune at the final degree of the zodiac, it's going to bring a lot of romance and fantasy about major finality. And Pluto at the final degree of Capricorn can be that way as well, just at a very material level. So things, with that sextile between Neptune and Pluto, which I will make a specific video about, but I'll tell you the gist of it basically here. It's romance for endings. It's romance for, canceling something out or stopping something or, closing the book on something, quitting that job, closing down that business, feeling like a long history is concluded and there's an entirely new epoch beginning to coalesce, which can be channeled positively. But I feel that the sort of linchpin of whether or not it's channeled positively is like how much one has to deliberately be destructive versus how much the natural life cycles of things outside of yourself are matching this. Do you guys understand what I mean? I think that the universe is really supportive to people who need these grand new beginnings, and how you know that it's supporting that is naturally a long history begins to fade out or begins to end without you having to do anything, without you having to intervene in it. So that could look like maybe you're burned out on your job and the innovation economically just kind of renders the industry that you're in kind of like not that necessary. So that's like a natural way that things kind of close out. And another way, if it's not that macro, you can have invitations. So say you have connected well with other people and you're burned out on your job. Well, now you might be invited to a new place. And you see this is like an external macro support for some type of major ending in your life. There will, however, be some people who just want to end all of the long-running structures in their lives. And I think that this needs to be reflected on longer and more soberly because, again, things are harder to build than they are to knock down. But moving on a little bit and really honing in on the main theme of this video, which is meditating and reflecting on this sort of idea of appropriate and necessitated cutting down on things. Okay, really stepping into that powerful King or Queen of Swords archetype and knowing what needs to go and what needs to stay. First off, okay, we need to assess areas of pain. Okay, so anything that is causing us pain, these things have to be really questioned why they're here. So say you have a job that is too reliant on one, your back or something, so you're having to lift things all the time and your back's hurting. Okay, we need to really look at this and see if there's another way. Say also you have a family dynamic that is keeping you really weighed down in one location, whereas you might be called to actually be more light and more mobile right now. This really needs to be assessed here. Say, you've got something that's just overheating your system or overheating your energetic frequency, as this is very common right now too. So being too active with your budget, okay, either working way too hard to fund your life or spending way too hard to make it where you don't have good mobility or freedom. Something is overheated here, as I also know there will be heat waves during this time. I've already forecasted that for quite a few months now. Major heat waves, before even the news started talking about it. But now it's on the news. So yeah, we're going to be having severe heat waves, and it's going to be kind of a sign to people about where they're also overheating or overworking in their own lives. As I feel that the Earth is kind of wanting us to understand more about heat and, what the fire element really is, because again, we have a yin overabundance, right? So water and earth are what are dominant right now. So, the earth is kind of working on the opposite plane, and it's kind of like trying to teach us about, okay, this is what fire is, like understand how dangerous it is, understand how limiting it can be, understand that, when the fire element is really dominant, it's really restrictive. It's really, dangerous. It can cause fires to break out. It can destroy a lot of things. It can confine you to your home, where you're dependent on like energy companies and air conditioning, and, water supplies are a question, and, people have to go to the hospital sometimes. So it's like, as I feel that, trying to draw this all together, people during this time are very tied to this destructive archetype, which is like the fire element in shadow. So these heat waves are going to kind of come in and be like, are you sure that you want to work with that kind of oppressive energy? Like, is this what you want to like actually experience? Because I think people get a lot of romance in their mind about, destruction or endings or tearing things down. And in some cases it's appropriate, which I'm about to talk about that as well. But I just wanted to kind of preface it with like, it's so important to make sure that what we're cutting out of our lives, what we're leveling, what we're using the fire element as it's indicated that it's necessary with the yin over abundance to balance it out. We have to be so comprehensive about the way that we're channeling this energy and the way that it is applied. It just can't turn into something reckless. Okay, so cutting things out reasonably. As this is also going to be something that we start to see after we get this final pass, so like of Pluto and Capricorn as we move into 2025. It's going to become suddenly apparent that a lot of things are kind of running down. I mean, this has been in effect for a long time, but part of the anaretic degree of Pluto and Capricorn is things have deteriorated. Things were built a long time ago. They've had their life cycle, and now they either need to be replaced or renovated. You might see a lot of rundown houses. You might see a lot of rundown infrastructures or things that are just kind of on their last leg. So it's a question. It's a question of how you deal with that. And it's going to depend, of course, on each scenario. So you might be having that in your life, but pulling this even further back to the individual. As I feel that Cancer season is testing us, it's demanding that we apply these same energies that we're expressing outwardly to our own selves. So if you're seeing that there's something that you need to like change, transform, or remove from your life, well, what about yourself also needs to move on? As this is something that I'm kind of drawing a question mark with in my own experience too, but I like know that it's there, and it's kind of confusing. I think this is like a symptom of Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, Cancer season. It's kind of like, you just feel that something needs to be kind of like different. Like maybe there's a feeling collectively that, we feel like we're missing something, but we're just like not quite sure what it is. And there may have to be a quest that coalesces here in July 2024. A quest that coalesces around the idea of what am I missing? As it might become blatantly obvious that no amount of money or prestige or, intimacy or anything like that can fill a void. There's a void. There's like a pit. There's something that is really harboring too much for the collective right now. This is the reservoir message. If those of you who have been subscribed, you know what I'm talking about. Since the 2023 year aheads, we've been talking about reservoirs and how when the waters begin to evaporate during drought, there's like hidden reservoirs under the mountain that keep the water reservoired. This is that in shadow. Okay, this is where there's something that is kind of attached or overfilled or overdone that becomes perhaps not stagnant, but it becomes problematic because it's kind of like a hidden or separate compartment or something that is getting too much into it. So this can look like also suppressing feelings. We're bottling up feelings, we're putting them into a reservoir, and it's getting like chaotic for us, and we're like having little like tantrums or something. Also, this could look like our money's not like put in the right place or something, and it's like, maybe it's time to begin really solving some problems with money rather than just like hoarding it for some people. That's not going to be the right message for other people. This is not a financial channel, but I'm feeling like there are things that are stored up that have not maybe been utilized properly. So we want to think about the utilization of that which we've stored. That's a very clear thing coming through to me right now during Cancer season of 2024. As Cancer is also about this, right? It's like the shell or the hermit crab, right? And like keeps things in the shell. So what are you storing up? What are you saving? What are you hanging on to? Is that positive or negative? For some people, it's very positive. But I did get a mental image about sort of like a problematic shell or a problematic thing that is holding too much energy. So it could also be you have too many things in your house, or you have too many destructive thoughts in your house or something. Like there's too much of some kind of yin overabundance. Again, this is another symptom of yin overabundance. You might just have like too much held inside, okay? Too much reserved, too much not being expressed. Maybe here's a good time to get a therapist or a life coach or work with an astrologer or something so you can get some of it out. Also an interesting time for minimalism and for yard sales or selling things off. But I feel that it's actually less material. It's more of mindsets and limiting beliefs. Like I'm feeling like people have compartmentalized a lot of limiting beliefs and maybe suppressed quite a few desperate emotions. And these could all have like economic causation. It's like because of my economic status, I have to like work a job that I hate. And it's like constantly every day I'm like thinking these thoughts that are like so angry about this. And it's like storing up. Like that's very heavy to talk about, I know, but that's a very strong reality for a lot of people in the entire world right now. And it's something that needs to be thought about. And it's something that I feel is it's not that that's responsible, but that's creating a global impact. Like all of these like thoughts that people who are having to like work when they don't want to work, the thoughts that they're having and the feelings that they're having as they force themselves to do it, or as they're kind of like in a roundabout way forced to do it, okay, because of, keeping a roof over their heads and such. What is boiling up resulting from the collective feeling of this is something that I do feel is contributing to deterioration. I feel that it's contributing to destruction and wear and tear because it's kind of like a question of, ownership of the means of production and all of that stuff. And so it's like the means of production I feel are kind of negatively impacted by the fears of the people who are like having to like work these things. And also because of the desperation and because of anguish and discontent, it's creating a lot of negative karmas for these larger systems and machines. Okay, so if you're in this place, if you're like having a lot of angst about your job, or if you're having a lot of pain about like what you're having to do every day, the daily grind is something that becomes almost intolerable for some people. Because the yin overabundant, you need a lot of yang, right? To like want to work, or to want to establish, or to want to like go out and do something like so physical, right? And to get out of the house and into a job, or to get out of the house and create a business. You need more yang. Yin is about sometimes feeling like, I don't have to do these things. Like I have my home, I have my life, and I want to just exist and be. And that is so valid. I think that a lot of people invalidate that during this time, as there's a very, very like extreme economic mania right now. And as I've said before, it's going 1,000,000 miles an hour towards a brick wall. But one of the reasons why that's the case is because you have a lot of people doing it and they don't want to do it. Okay, you have a lot of people pushing something they don't want to push, and that's why it's going 1,000,000 miles an hour towards a brick wall. I'm not just saying that as a figure of speech. It's just true because of the condition of the mindsets of the people who are kind of like in a roundabout way forced to do all of this stuff. On the other hand, maybe the world still needs to go round, but bringing this back to just the energetic truth of what's happening, it's a yin time, so people are going to want to go within, they're going to want to recede, they're going to want to be still sometimes. And because of that, I think that July is going to be really strong, and August and September, honestly, until 2025. I'm not seeing necessarily an economic downturn starting now, but because of the limits that people start hitting in July and August, it's coming not too long from now. The thing is it has to be measured up against inflation. And, if you have inflation and downturn at the same time, sometimes the result is still surplus because of the inflation factor. So it can kind of mask certain downturns. So this is all economic jargon. But the point being is that there is, I feel, a way that people are not just going to work for the same condition that they've been in. So workers' strikes may begin. People may also be doing it more subtly, in the mind, maybe the body is there. You see, this is something that people don't understand about the dimension that we're in now. And it's one of the reasons why the world keeps going around, but why also there's so much discontent and difficulty is because people can be there in person, but their minds are not there, okay? Or they're expressing a negative intention about what they're doing while they do it. So it's kind of maybe the people are there working, maybe things are still going around, but there's a lot of blankness, okay? And there's a lot also of room for mistakes and room for implosion and all kinds of crazy chaotic factors because people are not grounded in what they're actually doing with their own bodies. So their mind is basically coping with this difficulty by going somewhere else. So yes, do we have a very, very large subset of people who are basically working while practicing astral travel? It seems like it, though it's not certainly deliberate. Though I feel that to be very strong right now, especially Neptune 29 degrees Pisces. People are astral traveling just a lot more than they ever have at a mass level. So, the psychic phenomenon, the dream life, the astral travel quotient, all of that is leading to unseen results that we can't necessarily quantify. So here we come back to the main theme of the video, which is cutting things back, working on overgrowth, kind of keeping things proportionate. How do you do it when you have so many unseen factors that you can't quantify? Again, this leads people to try and also get ahead. That should also be said about the economy right now. A lot of people are pushing really hard to get ahead in the future, meaning that these results now are meaning to apply for quite a long time in the future. They're not just meant to be all consumed now. So it's kind of going also back to the natural ebbs and flows of the earth, right? It's okay, so we have a time of surplus. That means that we need to save for the future. But no, maybe we will just keep getting into debt. I don't know. But that's happening at the most personal and macro levels. Because there's no intuitive application. There's no intuitive gestalt around the permanence or the continuity or the sustainability of certain results, whether they're economic or whether they're energetic, okay? So yes, with this in mind, you all, overgrowth, it's happening in 2024. It's the wood dragon year. We're in a yin overabundance. So things are getting fertilized. Things are getting major growth. Things are, really hitting new highs, and there's a major upward curve on probably pretty much every economic chart you could imagine. But that means that eventually there has to be a decline, right? It's physics. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So here you all, I would see okay, maybe there's a plan for doing less in the future. Maybe also we can't necessarily expect for some of these results to just go on forever. And we have to be very in touch. This is why we need to be cutting back here now too. We have to be very in touch with what it takes for us to be at that energetic state where we're open to new opportunities and we're open to higher soul paths and not so exhausted from what we're doing, or not so, perhaps in a state of duress also where, cost of things and, continuing on an unsustainable track is not possible. So we have to get more detached here. This is a great thing about Jupiter and Gemini. We need to get more detached from certain lifestyles and certain falsely imposed, marketed standards of living, as that was a problem with Uranus and Jupiter and Taurus. It was too like, not that it was excessive. I mean, it was actually very excessive, but there was a feeling of like, this is just what I need to make my life work. And maybe it was comprised of a lot of excessive components. And a lot of that's about to be cut out, you all. A lot of that's about to be cut out. Now, I spoke earlier in the video about, not getting into that problematic, destructive element of knowing that things need to be cut out. But here's where we turn that into a positive, healthy prospect for ourselves, and we recognize what components in our lives are excessive and unnecessary, and perhaps actually negatively contributing to our health, causing us pain, causing us, reducing health. And those things can be cut out here. You can also make just the logistical factors of your life a lot more simple during this Cancer season. This Cancer season is very loving. It's like you've worked so long, and now you have this wonderful sense of well-being in your life where you have some type of long-term chronic illness that's healed, or you have like something that was very unwieldy in your life and it's replaced with something that just works normally. So through resolving those sort of logistical issues, we're going to be able to generate even better results this year. But we have to be very meticulous with the results that 2024, and especially like the first 2 quarters of 2025 generate, because those may need to really last through a major transformation that will be happening by the time Saturn and Neptune go into Aries. But yes, if you are on the verge of cutting back some overgrowth in your life, or basically pruning your life experience, I would just kind of assess everything. I would assess all of the major sectors of your life and kind of like point out to yourself where the overgrowth is. Understanding also why it's overgrown, what's caused that. And then also asking, like, how far do I want this to go? Like, I feel like we have to put some type of North Star in mind and try to not freak yourself out about it, because I think a lot of people get very purgative sometimes when they think, oh my God, what am I like aiming for in my life? What am I doing? What's the bigger picture of it? Just try to select something that really can't fail. Try to select something that's virtuous and solid, okay, as we do not want to be in fantasies here either. We do not want to be connecting to goals too deliberately that are just so abstract or so far out. We need more reachable, realistic goals, and try to just select components that harmonize with that and make sense with that. I mean, this is not rocket science, but a lot of people are freaking themselves out so much about selecting the next goal or selecting the next path. So if you're unresolved about it, just try to continue harmonious components. Okay, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, I have XYZ goal. People who have also accomplished this goal before have done something like this. And, in 2024, I can actually do that virtually now. And I don't have to impose terrible things on myself to do that. I think I'm just going to go ahead and get that ball rolling. And it's good to keep things rolling here, as there's also an uncontrolled way that the current is moving. Okay. That's starting up in Cancer season too. So we're not just, gods in our own lives, right? A lot of people have bad God complexes right now too, and they're like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and it's going to manifest, and it's like my will, and that's also going to be something that we're seeing reduce a little bit here, as there's actually a larger current that we gain through navigating that well. It's also if we're clinging on to a lot of things, or if I'm getting back into that message about, pits or things that have a lot of stored up material or energetic vibrational negativity. You see, that's going to make us not be able to navigate currents well. That's going to make us clingy and attached to egotistical ideas and also unresolved emotional complexes, and that's going to be like a rock that weighs us down as we're trying to navigate through the currents. So lightening the load is important here. Letting things go is important here. Keeping things safe and secure and not maybe having everything on your back here either. Okay, so here is contraindicated message perhaps, but here's actually a time where for some people banking can be good, storage facilities can be good, just giving quite a few things away can be good, helping other people, as it's more integrative, right? So we just don't want to be too heavy here and too constrained and weighed down, and that's going to require cutting some things out or transferring some things in our lives. And ultimately, I am wishing you guys a lot of luck. I hope you've enjoyed this channeling. That was just very raw and on the spot, as I just felt a boost of energy come through. And I felt like we needed to talk about sort of the currents that are coming through right now, the change that's happening and cutting things out. Comment below. Let me know how you guys are dealing with this need that we're having here to maybe like shrink things down a little bit, or to become better navigators of the current. And let me know how you're doing. As always, subscribe to this channel. The Patreon page is linked below. There's going to be a wonderful stream of content coming this summer. It's very chill, and we're just enjoying some sort of like safe healing during the heat waves of this summer. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this dialogue. Much love. Bye.